got some good points lines.
I think I saw you there. You were one of the people on the left side that I knew I was comfortable with, like looking in the direction when I was presenting. I was trying to find a
It's just fun
couple.
to go to this news like for the first time.
Yeah. Just blocks.
Yeah, you.
But you did bust me, in all honesty, like I kind of not for all the not for the so it's like it's a go to. You're meetings like okay, this is a bad thing.
All right, it's 6 o'clock. I'll call our meeting to order. Then we begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Need you roll call, please?
Christina Hushman.
Here.
Kurt Flickinger.
Here.
I'm here. David Kaufman.
Here.
Don Lehman.
Here.
John Payne.
Here.
Brian Tapping.
Here.
Jessica McFarland.
Here.
Gretchen Thomas.
Here.
And Scott Croner.
Here.
Thank you. Now's the time for recognition of visitors and public input. Seeing none, we will go on to amendments to the agenda. I will take a motion for the amendments that are at your place.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion from Kurt and a second from John. Any discussion or questions on those amendments? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Is that done? All opposed, same sign. Is he muted, is that why?
He is muted, but
Hey, Don, can you vote on that one?
Yes.
Okay,
Thank you.
Aye.
that motion carries 7-0. I'll take a motion for the consent items to include the amendments we just approved.
Make a motion to approve the consent items as presented.
Second.
Motion from John and a second from David. Any comments or discussion on those consent items? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. And that motion carries 7-0. There are no items of unfinished business, so we'll move on to action item A. Consider the approval of the permission to advertise the 2026 budget.
okay. In your packet is a presentation regarding our budget. I'm not going to go through every slide, so I may just touch on a few important parts of our budget. So just the first slide. Just remember that debt service operations and referendum are tax levy funds. The other two, the education and rainy day, are not, but we still have to budget for them. Continue through here, really no changes there. If we take a look at our EV has grown consistently through the course of the last several years. If you remember, we talked about last month, Senate Bill 1, there were several changes to AD and what it could potentially do. Unfortunately, we don't have 2026 AD yet. That was supposed to be from the counties to the state by August 1st, but we do not have that yet. So really, this really matters with debt service. As you know, if AD goes down, our rate will increase. We talked about that last month and moving to more of a levy-based approach if that happens. And so hopefully we will know our assessed value soon. The next slide is ADM, and that has been trending down since 2019, since COVID basically. The next portion is state tuition and support, and again, that funds our education fund. This first section is what we will be receiving this school year, so July 2025 through June of 2026. This is just an estimate. In the spring, I give the DOE an estimate, and I always estimate low. And so we estimated 2,775. We ended last school year at 2,835. And so once our October 1 numbers are submitted to the DOE, they will true up our payments and give us any back pay that we have coming to us. Also, you can't really see it very well, but it's in your presentation. The basic tuition support per ADM is $7,276. Last year that was $6,959, so a pretty decent increase of $317 per student. But the one thing to remember here is that textbook reimbursement is included in that. So that's about $158 per student. So the net increase is going to be $159-ish per student for this school year. This is our education, the black line, education fund. The black line is our revenue, the red line is expenses. If you see, you'll notice 22 through 24, pretty big differential between revenue and expenses. Like we talked about last year, a lot of that is to do with ESSER. In 24, it is so large because we had to deposit our TBR fund, which was right at $1 million, into the education fund at the end of the calendar year 2024. Going forward, these lines will be equal going forward. So 2025, the bars will be exactly equal. The next slide is the cash balance for the education fund, and it's doing exactly what the previous slide was doing. And so you can see that cash balance has increased. Next year we will see that plateau off. Again, really not a lot of change here. Our breakdown of expenses for the education fund for 2024, 97% of that is for salaries and benefits, which is really no surprise. I may come back to this slide in just a second. This one is just an overview of our 2025 approved budget. Our AV in 2025, 1.7 million. Our tax rate, when we completely finished up, was just under 92 cents, which was a slight decrease from 2024. Our total levy was 15.1 million, and if you remember, that's just going to be debt and operations and referendum fund, and the referendum fund is just right at $1 million levy. This slide is just our debt service payments, and so this column is our approved 2025 payments. And the middle column is our approved or what we're asking for 2026. In your slides, this number was wrong, and so I fixed it on this. So our total budget estimate for 2026 is $9.365 million. The anticipated GO bond payment, which I received that number from Baker Tilly, is $2.75 million. Capital projects and bus replacement. Capital projects, there's really no change. Bus replacement, I'll circle back to that in just a second. Okay, so for the final slide, this is just a summary of the form number form 3 that we advertise on Gateway. And so the budget estimate is basically our approved appropriations, or what we're approved to spend for 2026. Education fund is $27 million. It is inflated. One thing about the budget, and you'll probably hear me say this a couple times, is that we can always reduce, but we can never increase after we advertise it. So the education fund, we won't spend more than we bring in. We'll have permission to spend $27 million. We won't spend $27 million. The debt service, again, this number is from the previous slide. That is what we will spend, or our payments will be. And the requested levy is $11 million. Now, as you remember, last month we talked about that levy. That's inflated. We talked about that levy being right around like 7.6 to 8 million. I just inflated it and just increased the operating balance, which the DLGF will reduce that. I'll come back to operations fund in just a second. School referendum, we're requesting appropriations about $1.5 million. The requested levy is $1,012,708. As you know, a referendum is limited to a levy of $1 million. So we will reduce the levy by 12,708. We'll do that by either reducing current year appropriation or reduce this number. The good thing is the DLGF normally doesn't finalize our budget until November or December, and so by that time, we'll know what we need to spend out of the referendum and know if we have an extra 12,700 to cut out of the current year, which would be the goal to do that. Going to operations fund, the budget estimate for 2026 is 13.1. That's actually, I cut that down from last year. Last year we advertised at 13.5 million. If we go back up to this slide, you'll see that, I've said this several times, the operations fund is a levy-based fund, and the state just tells us what our levy will be. And every year we can only increase that by 4% based on current law. And so our levy last year was 7.4 million. If we increase that by 4%, that gets us to about 7.7 million. If we come back to this last slide, as you can see, the requested levy is 10.9. So we're going to need to cut that, which we did that last year too, and I found those cuts by just reducing our current year appropriations. However, this year, with Senate Bill 1, with the, if you remember, I talked about that $300 credit that everyone will be receiving. There'll be credits to homeowners that are 65 and older and disabled, and additional tax caps. We will need to reduce by another 1.1 million, which is quite a bit more. And so to do that, we will have to reduce this number, potentially have to reduce the 2026 budget estimate. The other thing that, in doing so, that we looked at is potentially reducing our buses, the number of buses that we may purchase. And so I asked Amy to take that into consideration. And if you can see here in 2028, you can see this grayed out. Normally when we purchase a handicap bus, we purchase 4 additional regular buses. You can see in 2028 that there's only 3 buses planned, and so then that would be the cut. However, that doesn't really help us out for 26 and 27 when we will be cut in 26 and 27. So just because we have 4 buses on there doesn't mean we'll purchase 4 buses. We can always reduce that, we can't increase that, so.
And the other piece that we're looking at is leveraging some of our debt service as well. So that would help save some of the operations funds.
The other part that I didn't really discuss is potential transfers between education and operations fund. In this budget, I put in, just like we have in the past, 1.5 million. We've not done that. It may be something that we have no choice to do. We can do up to just over 3 million based on the rules of how much we can send over from education fund. But right now, I just have 1.5 million. Any questions?
Yes.
Make a motion to approve the permission to advertise the 2026 budget.
Second.
Motion from Kurt and a second from Trevor. Questions and discussion?
So on the ADM trend, you know, you hear other schools similar. Do we know for sure, like Elkhart County, other schools seeing the same kind of decline in ADM?
Fluctuation. Some schools have picked up from other Elkhart area schools. We're kind of an outlier because our decrease, it's not because students are leaving our district for other districts. Our decrease is just primarily an aging population. And COVID certainly hurt us badly. We have several students that were Amish families, and you know, some of the things we were required to do, they decided to go to schools, and we've not been able to get them to return. So that's primarily our losses. I am optimistic this year with some of the changes in the law that we may see a little bit of fluctuation and increase of students from other districts transferring in. And we also, and again, this is all anecdotal, have heard several homeschool families that are continuing to return
this year as well. So, we'll continue to monitor that. That's primarily why our enrollment has seen a steady decrease. Our kindergarten classes are not as big as our outgoing classes.
What year did we go to devices?
The COVID year.
Nineteen?
No, it was 2021 is when we started sending devices home. We do contact tracing, 10-day quarantines, knowing that kids are going to have to do some hybrid type learning.
Was it before that we had them in the classrooms?
Yes. Yes. So those are my notice and wonders as well, devices going home, and some of the other requirements under COVID in order to reopen the schools. That was, I think, a deterrent as well. And if you look at the ADM, it aligns directly with that.
But part of your drop on the projections, you're just going fairly conservative too, right? Isn't that kind of why? So it's obvious there's not like any sort of sense of where we're gonna be at, it's just you drop it more than what you think it's going to, right?
Two reasons. One, we put that out in, is it March? Yeah, March, we put out what our enrollment's gonna be, so that come June, that's when the new numbers take effect. And so the revenue we receive from the state is based upon what we have projected. And again, that's cautiously low. Hopefully we see a slight increase this year, which means the state then will come back and reimburse us for the money we should have been receiving in June. We always find that better from budgeting purposes than to maybe not anticipate as conservatively and then undershoot our enrollment, and now we got to give money back to the state. So that's been our approach. And Jessica's done a great job with that.
The question I had is the education fund cash balance current? You said that's going to,
It'll plateau.
so, because right now we've shot up.
Correct. Yep. That was due to ESSER fund money, and then in 2024, we had to close the TBR, Bristol Journal fund, and put that in, receive that into education fund. And so now expenses will line up with revenue.
So we still have a high cash balance.
Correct.
So we'll maintain that high cash balance. even
Unless
though
we choose to transfer to operations.
That's the tricky part, because we do have a healthy cash balance in there right now. There's so many. Go ahead.
But I will say, in years, and you can speak on this, in years, because TBR is now in education fund, we may see that fluctuate quite a bit now in years of larger adoption. We'll have to eat into that balance a little bit.
Next year's going to be a reading, but
Yeah, this year's gonna be reading adoption. That's our most expensive one. I think last time we did it, like 225,000 for elementary reading. So I anticipate that's being much higher now, just because of adoptions that we've done recently. They're mostly consumables, and they're just, the cost of continue to go up. So I fully anticipate 250,000 or more for elementary.
I have a question on the capital projects plan. I noticed that like things are obviously repeated. It looks like it's a 3-year plan, but some things are on there 4 times. And then the other question is they're all the same dollar amount. So like, how do we come up with that?
It's just a pretty broad plan. The
Okay.
DLGF doesn't require anything super specific, so we don't get super specific, so we don't have to be held to anything.
Okay.
So, and those are just, if you notice, I believe the project's over $10,000, and items over $10,000. And in reality, with the cuts that we're making, there probably will not be any capital projects out of operations. It'll come out of a GO bond.
And just for example, obviously with operations, we're going to see some decreases in the coming years due to Senate World Act 1, but Jessica ran an analysis on just cleaning chemicals. As of 6 months, we were almost at the same exact expense.
We spent $144,000 with one vendor, and last calendar year, and as of through July, we were at $122,000. So whether that's increased purchasing or the price or both. So we're gonna take a look at that.
So like everyone, inflation is hitting us, and we're gonna get hit with inflation at the same time, and we're gonna see a reduction in revenue. And so that's why, again, I commend Jessica, she's budgeted very conservatively. We're gonna continue to earmark those funds in the event that we have to make a transfer from education to operation to help, balance those expenses. Because fuel's not getting any cheaper, electricity is certainly not getting any cheaper, natural gas, heating was brutal for us this past year, and so, we're continuing to manage.
So how much more expensive we have to do the building expansion? This would be something that would be,
Yeah.
interesting to kind of look at here. We got inflation.
Yep.
Right.
More buildings we're maintaining, and we have more custodian staff.
We had to add some staff, we had added an additional custodian, she does other work in addition to there, and so her hours have expanded. Obviously, the transportation offices did grow, however, we're seeing cost reduction because we're doing a lot of repairs and services in-house. So there have been some savings there. I know when Jessica did just analyze though the cost of like heating and electricity, it was just building the building from previous year to this year. Because she was pretty, asked a lot of very direct questions of our natural gas provider of why these expenses. We're going to analyze everything we can to make sure that we're getting the best value for the taxpayer.
I have a question on the bus plan, like if you cut a bus out, like I'm sure that's considered in there as far as the safety and the quality of our buses, like what's the point where, I guess we're still looking at, it looks like every year moving forward, we're looking at possibly 4 buses instead of like some years of 5, so we're not compromising enough to be concerned about the quality of our buses by doing that. I'm sure that assess that.
Exactly, that's the goal, and the goal also is to weigh any increased, repair expenses with an older bus to see, obviously we don't wanna be spending a lot of repairs. And so, yeah, I think that would be something that we would take into consideration as well. But I don't see just extending it another 1 year would really, instead of 12 years, we would do 13 years. I just don't.
We'll work very closely with Amy and, make sure if we are able to capture a savings on the bus, obviously it's a non-negotiable that the safety of the students be compromised. We want to make sure that buses are reliable, at the expenses of keeping them operational. Most buses are 12 years old, so, to go with 13th year is not terribly unreasonable. And again, it comes down to which bus has the fewer miles on it, and, we would select those strategically. But, and again, part of what we're doing moving forward is even building in some of those bus replacement costs into our debt service rather than the GO bond, rather than taking that out of operations, so that operations can be utilized to maintain staff salary and utilities. These are great questions.
Any additional questions or discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 All opposed, same sign. That motion carries 7-0. Action item B, consider the approval to authorize publication of notice of public project hearing or preliminary determination hearing.
Okay, in your packet, you have the notice, that we're asking permission to, advertise. We do this Friday in the Goshen News and the Warsaw Times Union. This notice will advertise our next 2 hearings, which will be on August 25th. Is our first preliminary determination hearing, and on September 8th is our second, and then an additional hearing will also be held on September 8th. So, I'm just seeking permission to advertise. We're looking, also in there, I should note that there is a proposed timeline for our bond issuance, and as you'll notice, we're looking at a bond sale mid-October with a closing around November 12th timeframe.
Motion to approve the authorizing publication of notice of project hearing and preliminary determination hearings.
Motion from Trevor and a second from Brian. Any comments or discussion, questions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. That motion carries 7-0. Action item C, consider the approval of the 2025-26 Elkhart Career Center agreement.
Board back a copy of the agreement, status quo agreement from previous years, and we recommend approval as presented.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion from Kurt and a second from John. Any questions or discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 All opposed, same sign. That motion carries 7-0. Action item D, consider the approval of the out-of-state overnight field trips as listed.
And AJ is expecting a very successful fall season. Appreciate AJ's work getting this in advance and all the work that Matt and his team does as well. So we recommend approval as presented.
I'll make a motion that we approve out-of-state overnight trips requests for the teams that are listed on there.
Second.
Motion from David and a second from Trevor. Any questions or discussion on those? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed-
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. And that motion carries 7-0. That's the end of this action item.
Yes.
On to discussion.
Thank you. Wanted to present the updated plan on a page. We are almost there. There are still 2 data points we're just looking to hone in on. But had a really, really successful year. Very, very proud of the team. Can you scroll back over? Again, the 3 overriding goals. We have our mission statement, our core values, our operating norms, and then our 3 overriding goals that we define as meeting our mission statement. So safe and engaging school experiences, high student outcomes, and responsible fiscal management. And so if you scroll to the top, under the safe and engaging schools, that first one is that what percentage of our staff would be highly likely or likely to recommend working for a district. We landed at 86.84, with a slight decrease, but again, the comments were much improved over what we've seen in years past. Still not at that target at 95%, so we'll still continue to work on that. We've got a few new things that we think we'll work on to help improve that area this year, but again, overall, pretty pleased with the survey results and feedback from our staff. Expulsions, we saw a slight increase this year. There was nothing on there that I would say our team could have managed just differently. Sometimes kids just make really poor decisions, and we have high expectations here. And unfortunately, we're not going to compromise the safety of our students and staff. And so every one of those 17 expulsions were unfortunately very, very necessary. So that was an increase, more than double what we had the previous year. I do believe a lot of that is because of the detectors that we've installed in our bathrooms, and so we're getting better at identifying kids when they're making those poor choices. So hopefully we'll start to see a reduction in that now that students are well aware that those detectors work very, very well when they're linked with our cameras on the outside, so we know exactly what time you're going in and when the detector will go off. Digital truancy, we saw an improvement in that area. We hope to see a 10% increase from the previous year. We met that mark. And in addition to that, we had to, by law, redefine what the digital truancy was. So no longer is 20 or more absences is defined as habitual truancy. It's now down to 18. And so even though the threshold was more stricter, we actually saw fewer students that were in that habitual truancy. So just really, really pleased with the work that our MTSS teams do. The school counselors, the deans of students, the assistant principals, the SROs, they all work very, very hard and collaboratively to reiterate to parents why attendance is so important. And you're always going to have students, again, those 18 absences. I mean, if a kid gets really, really sick one year, has to have a prolonged stay in the hospital, there are some things we just cannot control for. So obviously we try to control what we can. The state national award qualifiers, saw a decrease in that one, but still over our goal. And I'm still working on this. I need to track down a few more principals just to make sure that we're at where we should be at. But we had 14 this past year. We typically try to get 12 teams that make it down to the highest level of their competition. So kudos to the kids, the coaches, the clubs for making that happen. Jumping down to high academic achievement. I know Gretchen's going to get into presentations, so I won't belabor this issue too long, but our team crushed it. I'm so proud of them. I learned up to We're now within the top 5%, and we had a 59.1% passage rate overall. State, if you're in the top 5%, it's 58.8. So very, very pleased. We saw growth there. I learned math. We're now within the top 2% in the state of Indiana. And many of those schools that are slightly above us are private schools that you kind of pick and choose who they wish to attend. So very, very proud of the work Gretchen and her team have done in the area of mathematics. IRE passage rate, unfortunately, I can't share that with you because it's still embargoed. It's embargoed until Wednesday, but I can't wait to share it with you because I think you're going to be very pleased with the work the team accomplished. And you're going to see a growth from the 88.9% we saw last year. So federal graduation rate, that will not be calculated until October the 1st. Right now, we're at that same 97% passage rate. We have a chance of getting up to 98%, which would be the third consecutive year of a school record of graduation rate. So very, very pleased with that. Our SAT scores are continuing to grow as well. We're in the top 11% in the state in math, and we're in the top 25th% in English. Is that correct? 30. You're going to present that. But again, we saw great growth in English this past year, so we're pleased with that. Our challenge there, the SAT is a relatively new assessment. And not a new assessment, but it's a new state required assessment. We're now in year 3. And so what we've found is that we've had to really work on alignment of our curriculum. We've got great teachers at the high school, we know that. But sometimes our alignment of curriculum, what we're teaching, didn't necessarily align exactly with what the state of Indiana was. And so going into year 4, we feel like we're getting that much more dialed in. And if you see what we're doing in the the lower grade levels, we'll feel very confident. We'll see those scores jump up to top 5% as well at the high school level. So very proud of the work they're making there. Financially, again, Jessica and our team continues to make sure that the purchases we're making are what's needed for kids and that we're managing our cash balances so that when rainy days occur, we are well prepared for it, and it's going to be a little bit cloudy these next 3 or 4 years. So we're in a healthy spot right now to manage and make our way through these next 4 years. So we're very, very proud, very pleased with that. So questions, comments, thoughts, any metrics you guys, absent from here, anything that's absent from here? Basically, I just want to have a discussion with you on outcomes from this past school year, where we're continuing to trend, and just make sure that we're meeting the mark that you as a board want us to continue to shoot and strive towards. And I know we're going to have that retreat in October, and so again, we'll have time to kind of dive in and just make sure we're all calibrated and we're all on the same page. But any thoughts or feedback that you guys may have on this past year and where we need to go moving forward?
I have a quick question on the SAT scores. You were saying that we're matching more now with the state. Obviously, SAT is more of a national test, so is the state kind of trending toward lining that up for SAT, or I'm just kind of curious what the correlation is there with that, if that makes sense.
I would say the intentionality of our standards. So you have, the state has given more resources more now than ever before on your essential standards, your gold standards. And so we're just really intentional with our planning around those and getting better at that. That's been the focus with math. That's where you've seen the increase there and what we're working on.
Okay, so that in that itself will help with that. You're feeling on the SAT scores. Okay.
Another huge challenge that we do have with the SAT, and I'm not advocating for a change, but our schedule does not lend itself well to taking the SAT. It's a trimester schedule. We know there's going to be some kids who are not enrolled in a math or English class during that trimester, so things that they're going to be required to perform may not be as fresh as kids who are on a traditional 7-period or a block 4 where they are currently in a math or English course. And so, again, overall, we think the trimester schedule is what's best for kids, and we're going to continue doing that. We just want to control the things we can't control right now. And right now, what we're finding is that just making sure our alignment with standards because of the resources that we're getting, and again, the work that Gretchen and Dina and the department chairs at the high school are doing to ensure our curriculum is well aligned with what the kids are expected to be able to do in the assessment. Other questions? for discussion is our board policies. We need to make a couple of tweaks due to recent laws. The first one is on organization. No longer need to have a reorganization meeting within the first 15 days of the calendar year. This has never been an issue, but I just thought it'd be wise to go ahead and get our policy in alignment with what law is. I don't know why you as a board would want to have a stricter policy than what the law would require, especially if like there's bad weather or something like that in the month of January. So I'm recommending that we follow the law and get to the 30th day of January. And then membership, state laws change. You no longer need to be 21 years of age to run for school board. And so if there's an 18-year-old out there, one that wants to run for school board and get engaged, they're not permitted to do so. And we need to get our policy in alignment with that. So these are the two changes that by law I'm recommending we tweak. So any questions, comments, suggestions on that?
Does that come back for approval, or?
Yeah, we'll bring it back next month then for approval. This is just first reading right now. All right, the last one, the next one I'll let Gretchen take care of.
Save the best for next to last. Thanks. All right, curriculum and instruction update for you. Since Dr. Cronin just steal a little bit of my thunder. The core values and operating norms I think you'll find throughout. I just want to give an overall update of just kind of what we've been up to over the summer. And I think you'll see a lot of student focus, a lot of commitment to the pursuit of excellence, and a lot of just grounding statements and evidence and that inquiry stance throughout some of the work that we've been doing. And so very happy to share that with you. First, welcome our new teachers. We have 16 new teachers that we welcome to the district. We had our new teacher orientation breakfast on August 6th. Out of the 16 new teachers, 12 are new to the district and 4 are new teachers altogether. So that's been kind of a shift that we've been trending towards over the last several years, just by chance. And so very excited about that. It was a great day. David, thank you. You were able to join and be there and speak to the teachers, and Mayor was there, and of course the 2 chambers. So it's just really great to have everyone there. All of the administrators, and I think there were 65 people altogether that were there. So it was a great morning there and a great way to welcome everybody. Some summer learning that took place, summer learning for students. We had summer school this year with a focus on 2nd and 3rd grade for the state requirements. 2nd grade, we had 33 students attend who were at risk of not passing I-read in 3rd grade, so they attended. And 3rd grade, we had 9 students attend who were not passing I-read 3 yet. And we had everyone attend at Napanee Elementary, so we had teachers from all 3 buildings attend there together and work with the students, and they mixed the students up based on different needs and worked together to meet the needs of those students, along with an ELL or EL program too. And so it was just really cool to see all of those teachers come together and help each other out and share ideas, and the sharing of ideas kind of continued after summer school, so that was really cool to see. And you can see the I-read results were released next Wednesday, so we'll know more about that there. We had 25 high school students attend credit recovery and 33 credits earned in that short summer school. We had summer ag that we were able to offer again this year, and we weren't able to offer high school band for a credit this year. The state has taken that away, but we were able to offer a high school band camp again this year. So that was a continuation. And we had some summer professional learning for our staff too. So we had SIOP, which is support for English language instruction, and this year we had 10 teachers participate in that. So currently we have 50 current employees that are trained in SIOP. We've had some additional who have been trained and are no longer employed here, but we've got 50 current employed. We also had some participate in the yearly virtual conference, and so that's all instruction that helps English learners, and it's just good instruction for all learners on vocabulary instruction and comprehension and things like that. So that was really fun. High Ability Boot Camp, we had some high school teachers attend that virtually, and so they learned how to meet the needs of those high achieving. Some of those teachers who are teaching some of the AP courses attended that, and how to differentiate that instruction and meet the higher level. We've had some teachers attend an Educator Summer Summit, which is an ongoing virtual session where they have different breakout sessions, and it's for elementary focused through grade 6, I believe. And so several different teachers were able to participate in that. Obviously, ongoing science and reading training, there's still lots of opportunities for free training for that, so we've continued to push that out, and we've had many teachers participate and continue to get certified for science and reading. And probably one of the most talked about was the Indiana Resource Center for Autism. We wrote a behavior grant. We were awarded the behavior grant through the state. And so Amy Gaffney is through the Indiana Resource Center for Autism and IU, and she's the only teach certified trainer in the entire state. And she came and spent 4 days with us here in Wa-Nee. 1 day was just for assistants who are working with students with autism, and 3 days she spent with teachers and principals, and some administrators, Lindsay, Jake, myself, all attended, and just gave us lots and lots of good instruction on how to meet needs of students with autism, from different ways to instruct them, different ways to organize, different visual schedules, and all the way from kindergarten through 12th grade. So high school is there, middle school, elementary school. And again, good instruction and good ideas for all students. This just happened to be focused on autism, but it really works well for everyone. I think I saw most of the adults saying, I'm gonna take that idea for myself, and they were walking away with different things that could help themselves too. So that was a really great experience, and we're excited to continue to work together on that. And Amy's gonna actually come back a couple more times during the school year and kind of coach us as we're continuing to implement those ideas into our classroom. So we're continuing to work with Amy on that as well. And on August 5th, we had our administrative retreat, and this year I reached out to teachers and I said, you know, our principals are always motivating you guys and encouraging you guys. Let's reverse those roles. If there's anything that you want to say to them for the administrative retreat to get them excited about the year, send something to me and I'd be happy to share it with them. And I had 40 teachers email me different long passages about how thankful they are for their principal, how supported they feel, how thankful they are for their leadership, how much they care about kids. I had one person record a video recording to share with the administrators. I had one person write a handwritten letter. I had 3 people that came and spoke at the retreat and wanted to share. One person wrote something about every single person in the room. It was such a great experience, and it was just a really great way to kick off the year to have all of those people share like that. So that was a really neat thing that took place this year too. Data update, Dr. Cronin shared some of this already because he wanted to steal my thunder like that, but that's okay. It's what we do. I work hard and he takes the credit. It's our roles. So 3rd grade through 8th grade, this is our English language arts, and our scores for the most part look very good. We're in the upper 50s, lower 60s across the board. And you know, when we look at iLearn, one of the reasons why we look at iLearn is really just to kind of monitor, like, are our students learning what they are supposed to be learning for that next level. So it's not that we're like, hey, we need to master this test and test. We're really saying, like, it's our job to prepare them for that next level. And so this is just one measurement. We know that there's other measurements within the classroom and there's other tools and things like that. But this is one piece that we look at. If we had a student that completely bombed it, then we'd be like, wait a minute, something's not right, what's going on here? And I need to make sure that, you know, I'm looking at other pieces of information too. So this is one data point that we look at. For example, you know, I'm looking here and I'm seeing this outlier of the 5th grade. And so I'm digging into 5th grade a little bit and saying, okay, what's happening in 5th grade? What is it that we can, you know, adjust if need be? What is it that we need to look at? Is it this cohort? And if so, where are the gaps so that they can have success as they move on? Because as they're going into 6th grade this year in middle school, we don't want them to have gaps when they go to high school and not earn credits, because that leads to other challenges along the way. So we need to make sure that we're filling in those gaps if that's what the issue is. For math, our scores again look very high. And again, the notice and wonder, I noticed that 5th grade is that low mark. So I want to dig in to that a little bit and find out why that might be, and if there are some gaps in there, what I can do to adjust that. Highlight, 3rd grade math looks incredible. One of our schools, 3rd grade was over 80%, which is insane. So those scores for math look really, really great. again, when we look at the state rankings, we don't look at state rankings, we are competitive, but that's not the main purpose for that also. As you know, the state changes the assessment quite often, but they change it for everybody. So when we compare ourselves against other people in the state, it's kind of one of those checks too. So if the game changes for all of us, then we should still be somewhere, you know, in that same ranking. And so we want to see like, okay, where are we at still comparatively to other people? And so that's one of the metrics that we use also. We always say like top 5% because we want to make sure that we're meeting the needs of our students and that they are being successful on this. So again, ELA, we're at the top 4.8%, and then for math, top 1.8%. This means that out of 382 schools, I believe it is, in Indiana that we looked at, 382 sound right? There were 6 schools that did better than us on iLearn. So that was really, really incredible. Our students did a really great job. Our teachers did a really great job. Special education, you know, a couple of years ago, we were at the 50% mark in ELA and the 20% mark in math. And so looking at that, again, the state test isn't everything, but when we're at the 50% mark, but yet our general education population is performing so highly, then you look at that and you say, okay, the state test isn't everything, but there shouldn't be that much of a difference. And so what can we do? What's going on with our special education? Just 2 years later, we're in the top 13%. Our special education department has really come together and put some different things in place, and they've been really working hard under Jake's leadership and working together as a team and working together with our principals, and they've done an amazing job. And then same thing for math, they went from top 20%, top 10% now for math. So really working hard there. English learners are, again, a little bit trickier because you're not really comparing the cohort to the cohort. You have some that are Spanish speaking, some that are Russian speaking, Ukrainian, for refugees, things like that. So it's very difficult to do year-over-year comparisons. But again, 2 years ago, we were, you know, in that bottom part of the state. We were below the 50% mark. Now we're at the top 35%. And again, we cut this in half of the 30% to the 17%. So we still have some work to do, but we know we're going in that right direction. Again, just one piece to look at, one pulse check.
Can I touch?
Yeah.
Again, and we were concerned, but we also anticipated we were going to see a little bit of a drop in 2023. Previously, our EL population was primarily Amish students who didn't speak English in the home, and our Spanish-speaking students. Today, our EL population looks far, far different. We have a lot of Ukrainian, a lot of Russian. I mean, the number of countries that are now within our district is far, far different than just 3 years ago. And so again, even though we're not where we want to be when we're in the top 5%, the challenges and the number of languages that our staff is working with has gotten far more complex. And so we're pleased with the trajectory right now.
Yep. As long as we're meeting the needs of the students and continuing to grow. Our high school, as Dr. Croner mentioned, our English language arts, we were at 60% proficient, and that's an increase from 53, which is the top 26.8% in the state. And math, we were at 37% proficient, which is an increase from 35%, which is the top 11% in the state. Again, that iLearn test is supposed to be a correlation to the SAT. So again, if we're not preparing them on iLearn, then we're also not preparing them on SAT. So just trying to get them prepared for that next level, and then whatever level it is for them after that, whether it be college bound, career bound, you know, wherever the path might take them. Looking at just comparison of local schools, looking at, again, how do we compare? Are we preparing our students as well as other schools are preparing their students? Can we tap into other schools and find out what they're doing, things like that? When we're looking at the comparison of students, meaning both the math and the English together, Northwood comes out on top comparing the 25 versus the 24. So we have a lot of success to be proud of. Dr. Croner kind of went over the plan on the page already, but again, meeting that top 5%, but really just looking at that, meeting that top 5% means that we met the goal for those students, that we got them to read, that we were proficient with them meeting the standards so that we were preparing them for what they needed. When we talk about support, here's one way that we support teachers in preparing them. So this looks very messy, but it's actually pretty simple. This is one grade level, this is 5th grade. It has the standards at the top for the whole year that they teach. And then it color codes from 2018 all the way down. And it's color coded based on how that group of students performed on iLearn. And so you can look at the historical data and you can say, okay, if we were borderline on the standard and then we've been above, then we've gotten something right, we've gotten better, we've improved on teaching that standard. If we were doing well on the standard and then we've gone down, then that's something that we want to take a look at also and say, okay, what do we need to do differently to really address that standard? The teachers are given which checkpoint the standards are assessed in, so they know exactly when they're going to be assessed, so they know that ahead of time, so they know when it's going to come up, so they can monitor that. They know if it's going to be on the iLearn test or if it's taken off the iLearn test. They have all of this information at their fingertips, just so that they can see what's going to be assessed, how we've historically done on it, how the students have done on it, things like that. So that's one area of support that we give them, so they have all of this information. We provide them with an assessment calendar at the end of the school year for the upcoming school year, so they've had this school year since last May. They know when every assessment is going to be, and it's in their hands. We have our mentor program. This is going to be our 3rd year for our mentor program. So if you are a new teacher or new to Wa-Nee, either way, you're part of the mentor program. You're assigned a mentor, and we have 9 meeting dates, I think it is, throughout the year, and just looking at things that are, like, how is it done at Wa-Nee? So you can see things like meeting with the SROs, meeting with AJ, what does athletics look like? Having the special student populations, so special education, high ability, EL, looking at TBRI, things like that. So having those meetings, having the mentor set up, having all of that so you have that support person set up and with you along the way. We're going to continue with weekly curriculum updates so they can stay on top of things like how to get trained in science of reading, how to get that licensure added. We have weekly special education updates. Dr. Kerner has a weekly administrative bulletin to keep administrators up to date on things. We have an on-demand professional development website that we have continued to add to. We have pacing guides and assessment calendars online and the focus calendar online for teachers. We will continue with our ongoing list of meetings. We have monthly meetings before school and after school for the teachers at every building, so that's 10 meetings a month that they can meet with Dr. Kerner and I. And that has been so helpful. They aren't highly attended. We might have 5 teachers at each session maybe, but those 5 take the information out and definitely share it with the other teachers, because other teachers will then have conversations with either one of us about what was shared. And so that has been very helpful. We have weekly meetings with the principals at each building with special education. I meet monthly with the EL team. I meet monthly with instructional coaches and interventionists. We meet weekly with AJ and athletics, weekly with cabinet, weekly with transportation, school safety. Between Dr. Kerner and I, we have daily contact with the principals between the 2 of us. We have informal walkthroughs and classroom visits just to be out and about in the classrooms. And then periodic staff surveys about, like, how can we do better at supporting you? How did you feel about a certain topic, whatever the case may be. And to put it all together, we have a focus calendar for them that's color-coded to keep track of everything as far as when the mentor meetings are, when the weekly check-ins are, things like that, so that they have access to all that. And again, this is put together at the end of the year before the next year so that they have all of this information in their hands too. And this wraps it all up. This should look familiar for those of you that have been here. This is the same. This is my curriculum focus calendar, I guess you could say. So it is just putting it all together. It has not changed because we feel like just that consistency is what's needed. That's one thing that we have held true to the things that we do. We do them and we do them consistently. Very few things have been added on. Some things have been taken off, but the only thing that has really been added on is the professional development list is starting to come off the page a little bit, so that's a highlight. But for the most part, we have just stayed consistent and stayed true to the things that we know have worked, and we just tried to get better and better at doing those. So that's all that I have. Any questions? Okay, thank you.
A lot of work.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
I'm
thank you
exhausted.
for putting that together, and it's just, I know,
You lived it, John.
I know what it takes to put all of that information together, it all together. But it is super helpful to just see everything there, and it reinforces what I believe we all know, that things are going well. Proud of our school and kids and administrators, teachers, you guys. It's a good place to be.
We don't have to question, you know, you guys are meeting the needs of your staff, especially with the weekly meetings. That's we've never had a question after the last, since I've been on board, so the last 3-4 years, it's been super encouraging, so thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you. I was gonna add to that, one question, but yeah, the work is awesome and it's showing through the results for sure. I was curious, like on the summer school this summer, like how did that go at Appian Elementary? Is that like, cause I feel like, and again, I know I'm new on the board, but I feel like we were kind of spread out and now we're doing it together. Was that a success?
So this is the first year that we went back to having elementary summer school. In the past few years, we have not had, we've had extended day held after school. But the state required summer school this year for iRead and would not allow extended day to be an option. So we originally planned on all 3 buildings to have their own summer school. But as we had success with students passing iRead, the numbers of staff needed became fewer and fewer. And then we had trouble finding staff who were able to do summer school too. And so then it just made sense to combine. And so then it just made sense to have them in one building for transportation purposes, for collaborating, for, you know, combining resources together. And so the staff were appreciating having that together. The numbers were small and they were able to work together. So that worked out well. I think that moving forward, that will be the plan from now on. I don't foresee having it at different buildings. I don't think that there would be an ask to have it at different buildings.
Kind of help with custodial staff too, right, that are trying to get those buildings
Yeah.
prepped for over the summer. There's so much
Sure.
work that they at least can have 2 buildings that are
Yep.
fully accessible and empty to them.
Yes. Yep. This year was the replacement of the chillers that we had to work around, but it all worked out. Okay, thanks.
And this is not the best for last, it's the second best to last, it's definitely the best, but, the last item is just opening the schools. I'm gonna regret saying this, but we are fully staffed right now, so we gotta hang on for 2 more days. The principal team has done a fantastic job, you know, getting our staff in place, bringing 16 brand new teachers that we think are gonna be excellent additions, and live up to the expectations that you would have of staff members for Wa-Nee Community Schools. One thing you may hear about, the high school's hot right now. We did have a chiller that blew. We're not real sure why. John was working on it last Friday. He's had folks from New York train out this past week. He called me this afternoon. I didn't know these things, 1,000-watt fuses have got to be replaced on it. And the repairman that came out did not anticipate that was what the repair was needed. So they're trying to track down where they're going to get that part. Long story short, it's going to be hot the next couple of days in the high school. As the staff comes back on Wednesday, as the students return on Thursday and Friday, we probably just won't have that repaired. But John is doing everything he can to try to make that as manageable as possible. On Monday, Tuesday, it should be fully repaired. We do get a little bit of reprieve. It's lower 80s these next few days, so hopefully humidity's not that bad. But you probably heard some folks already who maybe attended some parent meetings, and it's warm, it's muggy. I was at a few as well, and it's not pleasant. But you know, we'll make do the best we can. But other than that, custodial staff has done an amazing job. Matt, Amy, transportation routes are ready to go. We are so excited for another great school year. questions, things you've heard, or any comments on the opening of school?
Registration was smooth. I was there at the high school, only one building, finally. So, that was good from my perspective. Lots of excitement and people there.
Sorry,
No, it's,
I was through Friday, most of the buildings. They look amazing. If you guys get a chance, I mean, the floors shine, the landscaping looks, you know, just fantastic. Our custodial team just does so much work and so many things that they work around, but they get the job done. I mean, you can tell they love their buildings, and I think you guys will be proud. If you get a chance, walk in, say hello, and tell them thank you for their hard work, because it's deserved. That is all we have this evening.
There being no further business from the attention of the board, a motion to adjourn is in order.
So moved.
Second.
Motion from Trevor, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.
Hey, could I vote real quick?